Yo, 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 what it do? What it be, y'all? It's your boy, Agent A and T, coming to y'all with another Apex Legendary commentary. And, yeah, and a while back I did a video explaining why I think wrestling will never have another boom like the 80s or the 90s. And I'm here today to double down and say, not only was I right, but after WrestleMania 37, I know it's been a few months since WrestleMania 37, but your boy been slacking on creating content and doing this video. My bad, y'all. Anyways, with all the shenanigans that AEW been doing, it's kind of safe to say pro wrestling is dead. And I don't see it rising from the ashes no time soon. Like, before I get into roasting AEW and shitting on WWE and Peacock, let me just start with pro wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. Let me start with it as a whole. So I'll admit, today's wrestlers are much more athletic. Let me give it some praise before, this is what I do. I'll give it, I'm fair. I'm kind of unbiased, but like I said, today's wrestlers are a lot more athletic than yesterday's superstars. And it's crazy because despite being more athletic, I think the creativity and storytelling aspect of wrestling has devolved, like, on a crucial level. I mean, I get that almost every storyline and idea has been done, but I mean, look at rap. Most bars have been said. Almost anything in music has been said. But good artists know how to say them in different ways or put them in different schemes. But in pro wrestling now, it's like they set you up for the punchline and then the song switches. You feel me? Like, either that or the whole setup is like it doesn't have anything. Beginning, middle, end, just confusing from start to finish. So let me stop talking in riddles though. So basically, I've been listening to a lot of Jim Cornette's podcasts, and with Cornette's personality, you either love him or hate him. But no matter what you think of him, he's a legend in the wrestling world, at least. I personally have grown to have great respect for his contributions to wrestling and his mind for wrestling in general. Like, despite not working for any promotion and just doing his podcast with Brian Last, he still watches a lot of wrestling, and you could tell, like, he's still passionate about the business. And, that passion, maybe drives him to be a little overcritical of the business sometimes. But he makes really excellent points. And even fantasy books what he would do in both promotions, which shows, like, despite his displeasure with today's wrestling product as a whole, he still has a love for the business. Which to me makes him that much more credible, because oftentimes his ideas are better than what's being or what was presented. And yeah, sure, it's easy to play armchair QB or armchair booker, but I guess it's different when the person in the armchair is a former QB or a former booker, because that's exactly what he is. Because I tend to disagree with him about some of these guys not being stars, like CM Punk, for example. He never got CM Punk, and he criticizes today's talent for not looking the part like The Rock and Stone Cold, or Hulk Hogan even, or Macho Man. Because, like, Stone Cold didn't really have, like, yeah, he was built, but he wasn't, like, muscles. Same thing with Rock, but I mean, that was after the whole steroid trial and shit, and they was having Shawn and Brett hold the champion, stuff like that. But it's different, I guess, like... CM Punk not looking like a bodybuilder does not mean he can't be champion. Like, Daniel Bryan does not look like a bodybuilder, and he is phenomenal. He got everything. He can wrestle, and he got the personality, the perfect, whatever gimmick they gave him, he made successful. Prime example. But that's not really, like, on the stars of today, though, especially in WWE, because most guys are held down by a Mickey Mouse caliber creative team. Like Stone Cold really was a beer swilling badass, and you could tell sometimes when he was going through his shit, he had a little beer belly and all that. But no one could hang with him or The Rock on the mic in that era, well, at least as far as we know that we've been shown. You feel me? And like I said, that's not really on the stars of today, because a lot of guys are held down by lackluster, by shitty creative, like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, as I mentioned earlier, could both make the crowd love or hate them, and they were believable as champions, just like Daniel Bryan. You know, they could have a great match with anyone. And you look at, you know, guys, you know, that they inspired, like Seth Rollins, like Daniel Bryan, or even obviously Dolph Ziggler. Even those guys can have a great match. But I can't remember the last promo I heard besides CM Punk's pipe bomb that made me go, wait, he's really talking to these motherfuckers. Okay, talk your shit. Like this is gone, bruh. Like that element of just like believable characters or like believing what that person is saying, like it's gone to me. Like with the social media age especially, I feel like wrestlers could have gotten way more creative than just playing video games on YouTube or talking smack through cringy tweets and hashtags, you know, through forced tweets, you know, like that shit is so cringe. I mean, those are more cringe to me than the fucking than the playing video game. Like, okay, y'all are cool outside of the ring. Okay, there's nothing we could really do against that. But you could actually work those into storylines, bruh. Like, bro, you ain't never had no, like, bro, they play Madden together, bro. You know how many fights have been started over Matt? You don't have Jey Uso just super kick Kofi Kingston and, you know, like, nothing like a big brawl break. That would have been like, bro, the whole internet would have been talking, but y'all just, they're not creative like that or something, you know? Like, it's crazy. I don't know. Like, Stone Cold caught Booker T lacking at the supermarket. The Headbangers tried to catch Crash Holly slipping at Funtown, USA. Like, they brought back the 24/7 championship and did nothing with. They had fucking, what's his name win it? The radio guy. You didn't waste your old team. I don't know. Peter Rosenberg, yeah. Dude who be on Smoke This' mixtapes and shit. But that's what they did. And then they had R-Truth win it and lose it a million times. Like, trash, bro. They could have did so much more with it, especially in the social media era. Like when Batista came back and got booed at the Royal Rumble, like Guardians dropped that same year. They didn't mention it. No promo for the movie or even poking fun or nothing. A whole cross promo opportunity squandered. Cause y'all didn't think he could do it. Like wrestling and pop culture have gone hand in hand publicly since the rock and wrestling days. And now it seems like wrestling hasn't evolved with pop culture since 2008. The anonymous Raw GM thing was cool at first, but it got stale. And the payoff was Hornswoggle. Yeah. The Battle of the Billionaires was cringy but entertaining. That's when Vince started rocking the do-rag, and that's the last time I could say wrestling was like kind of relevant in pop culture. And that was even after the Floyd Mayweather and Big Show event at WrestleMania, which is still arguably the best celebrity match they ever had. It's still been a good decade since WWE has done anything like the supermarket brawl with Stone Cold and Book. You know, you remember Halftime Heat with The Rock stomping out Mankind through the whole arena and Mankind somehow getting the dub at that. That's like, yo, that's crazy. And AEW isn't much better either. I mean, the most creative they've gotten is a meaningless win-loss system. The champagne match was corny as fuck. And Shaq going through a table. Yeah, don't even get me started. Their creative is not shitting on WWE's. I mean, it might be just as good. It might be just as worse. But it's not head and shoulders better. I'm not saying it needs to be like the 80s, like Cornette be saying, and heels and faces shouldn't hang out in public or they should always be separate, because that's impossible nowadays. But like, let's say Charlotte Flair is feuding with Lacey Evans, which from what I remember, she actually is or was, because Ric Flair turned against his own daughter. Like, really? Ric Flair, who really had a child die in real life, is going to turn against Charlotte Flair for Lacey Evans? They could have had Lacey Evans stir some shit up by having Photoshop DMs of her and Andrade on Twitter. or something, and boom. Now you don't even have to promo nothing on TV, except talk about the fallout from social media and set up the match and tell the story from there. That's just me, though. That's one of my ideas. Could you just make it more realistic, Like, take WrestleMania 37 with Reigns, Edge, and Bryan. Instead of telling the story that all three men were just on the cusp of retirement, Reigns with his, leukemia, Edge and Daniel Bryan with their neck surgeries, and now they're fighting for the WWE Championship. Like, you can't write a better script. But no, they said, oh, Edge is the ultimate opportunist, and Daniel Bryan thinks he's being, it's a spiel. And it's like y'all have gold in front of you, and instead y'all rather sell shit. Same with AEW. Everyone, including myself, thought maybe Cody Rhodes would take after his daddy and be a decent booker. But week after week, AEW gets worse. And Jericho's comments about WWE having a shitty creative and out-of-touch owner fit AEW more and more. Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks are only really trying to put on their friends and make Tony Khan happy, which is making for a terrible show altogether. Sure, there are a few bright spots, but for the most part, AEW's booking and planning is just as incoherent as WWE's. Plus, even with WWE alumni, they got excited by beating WWE's C-show NXT, and that was like the Monday Night War for them. I'll give it to AEW. They got a decent roster. They have working deals with other promotions, and they let their wrestlers have freedom to work on other platforms and wrestling companies, which is something WWE couldn't and will never do, as long as the law says they can, until, they crack down on the little bullshit independent contractor, kind of slave shit they got going on. But now you got Kenny Omega, who is a great wrestler, storyteller, and he can give a great promo. The Bullet Club, despite having a lot of NWO similarities, is one of the best stories to come out of wrestling in a while. And you really won't ever hear me dog New Japan or Ring of Honor or IWGP because I don't watch them enough. Now, Kenny Omega is on this run where he's going to each semi-major promotion and winning their heavyweight champions. He got the AAA, AEW. He just won the Impact World Champion, and now they're saying he might be looking at the NWA or IWGP Champion, which is crazy as fuck. Like, I'm a fan of both Cornette and Omega, and despite, their differences, I think Omega is the best thing going in wrestling. And you can't deny his talent and his draw ability. His friends, the Young Bucks, are trash, and I agree with Cornette on that. But Kenny Omega is what you get when you don't hold the superstar down with shitty creative, and your owner isn't completely, keyword completely, out of touch, and has all the power. Tony Khan and Cody are kind of out of touch, but at least they see the cash cow that is Kenny Omega and are letting him do his thing. At least AEW doesn't have almost 10 hours of content dropping every week, and more than half of it is filler or won't even matter the next week. Or a roster that can't make money outside of WWE or, go on Twitch or anything else, even though they can't even pay their independent contractors who are under contract health insurance. It's crazy. But I digress. Let's get back on topic. Creativity in wrestling is pretty much dead. But it's nice to see guys like Kenny Omega with his belt collector gimmick storyline he got going on, trying something new. With how successful TNA's last pay-per-view was just because he was on the card, it's obvious people are interested. And no one can say he's not a draw. He may be the biggest draw in wrestling right now. But I mean, hell, Tyson, Ali, Mayweather, all draws. But boxing as a sport has been dying, and for some people it's been dead. Pro wrestling is dead. I mean, if you look at Roman Reigns, I don't think he still has had that one match that makes you go, now wow, that's a classic match. Just solo, one-on-one. There hasn't been one Roman Reigns match where I've been like, oh, that was a crazy ass match, bruh. I don't even think he's had a promo where I was like, damn, Roman Reigns, like, you spitting. Talk to these, like, he hasn't. You got roasted by John Cena. John Cena roasted your ass on him. John Cena was with The Rock. I don't care about nobody. Motherfuckers be like, oh, motherfuckers can't hang with John Cena or The Rock. Or Rock and Stone Cold. John Cena did. I mean, granted, he was kind of on the back end of that era, but hey, he did it. Might be the only one. But I mean, it's been a long time since I seen a match in the WWE, period, at least, and said, wow, that was one hell of a match, or that was crazy. They had, that build. There's nothing that made me go, wow, I need to see this. I need to get WrestleMania for this match. These two are going at it. It's been a long time. They had that chance with Roman, Daniel, and Edge, and they blew it. Bianca Belair and Naomi Banks had a better storytelling. And I'm not knocking it because they put on one hell of a show for night one. That was the main event. But night two, you got 3 of your top draws. You saved this for night 2. And the story creative told in the match they had wasn't even as good as the Belair or the Bank and the Belair Banks match. And some of that does, kind of has to do with the whack-ass story they told with Reigns, Edge, and Bryan. I mean, look, Daniel Bryan as a vegan heel was dope, but there was never a match or a promo that I felt, wow, that was memorable. His best moments was with AJ Lee and Kane, which is the biggest sign WWE's creative is shit. The fans literally adored this man, and they dropped the ball so many times you'd think it was the NBA. Just dribbling. The storytelling in matches ain't the same no more either. Finishers don't finish anyone anymore. It usually takes at least 2 or 3 to finish a match. So I don't know why they even call them finishers anymore. High spots aren't high risk moves no more. The days of both guys being down and almost being counted out are, over. You see a guy that'll do a 450 splash, get up, do a sharpshooter, or shooting star press, my fault, sharpshooter. Shooting star, get up, do a super kick and get a 2 count. You feel me? They'll do a suplex on the apron of the ring, which by now we all know, thanks to Michael Cole, that it's the hardest part of the ring, and he won't let you forget it, because that's vintage Michael Cole. Then they'll hit you with 2 more super kicks and a finisher and get another 2 count. It's like you'll have 3 hours of TV. Slow down. It's okay if a move keeps you down and makes you look hurt for more than just 5 seconds. But maybe that's just me. Mighty Mouse was quick, but he was still getting knockouts. You feel me? Like the fact that Brock Lesnar and Goldberg basically had a spear versus F5 match in WWE, like WWE really thought the only guy believable enough to take the belt from Brock clean says a lot about that. Like, that says a lot about what Vince in WWE thinks of their roster. Vince pretty much said, I believe an old guy that hasn't wrestled in decades is more believable to stop Brock than any of you. So if Vince don't believe in his roster, why am I supposed to? Kevin Owens may not have the body type of a typical athlete. I think he's one of the best mic workers in wrestling. And he could put on a decent match with anyone. But for whatever reason, he's never been given, in my opinion, a decent run. They finally gave Bray Wyatt a decent run, and when they did, he never felt like the unstoppable monster. He could have been. Look, he just lost to Randy Orton. So even when guys finally do get the shot or the spot they've been working their asses off for, somehow creative drops the ball. Ask Zack Ryder. Anyways, one thing in the last couple years I have enjoyed is the more cinematic approach to some matches. Like the AJ Styles Undertaker match at WrestleMania. And I wish they did more things like that, because despite it not being great wrestling, it was great sports entertainment. And if they did, they could stage more fights like that and give it, the match that, it was kind of like a fighting game vibe. No cap, and I liked it. They could actually make the 24/7 title mean something. Or at least make it more, more than a cringy joke belt than what it is. I don't know. It just feels like, besides Kenny Omega's quest for all the major belts or, semi-major belts, there's nothing new or exciting going on in wrestling. At least on a national level. I know IWGP, New Japan, and even kind of Ring of Honor are decent and have great matches. But as far as it being as crazy or as interesting as the Attitude Era or, wrestling in the past, the magic just isn't there. Jake Roberts with the snake, bro, you don't know who was going to get the snake back in the day. Man, there's not no characters like that. I've only talked about, singles wrestlers. I mean, if you look around, there's not a lot of teams lasting as long as, like, the Legion of Doom. the Dudleys, or having close-knit stables like the Hart Foundation or DX. Or hell, remember manager stables like the Heenan family or the $1 Million Corp? I mean, Ted DiBiase, you know, that was a wrestler, but he was there. He was in the manager side. The last great stable war I seen was probably like the Shield versus the Wyatt family. And again, that feud was held down by piss poor creative. And that's the story of today's wrestling, though. You work your whole life to get held down by shitty booking. Mentioned Zack Ryder earlier. Look at CM Punk. Look at Daniel Bryan. I mean, AJ Styles and some of the things he had to go through at TNA despite giving his life to that company for years. That goes for a lot of those TNA guys like Samoa Joe and Chris Sabin, Christopher Daniels, Kazarian. Those guys were putting on spot fest, but they were actually great matches too. Like old TNA, like 2000 shit, like I want to say like 2003, maybe like 2009. TNA was lit. It was different. That six-sided ring shit was different. But once again, Hogan and Russo came in and stripped TNA of its six-sided ring, and Dixie Carter became an on-screen character. It was over for TNA from that point. It still has been. Kenny Omega just made them semi-relevant for a minute because he's a champ, but I don't really see them sustaining that popularity once the Kenny Omega train leaves town. I mean, I honestly wish there was a way where I could view old TNA shows on a streaming network, like WWE. You know? Because looking back on it, they were ahead of their time. And speaking of wrestling streaming services, let me just say, the fact that Peacock is going through all of WWE's library, picking and choosing what's acceptable to stream, fucking ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. A lot of wrestling, and not just WWE, has been far from politically correct, quote unquote, through the ages. So at what point do you stop the censorship? You know, my whole thing is the WWE Network literally had parental control, so kids couldn't view questionable content. And almost every streaming service has a kids section. Yet Peacock just said, nah, we just gonna erase history. Y'all know how much I fuck with history. And everybody like, oh, so you're defending DX and Roddy Piper wearing blackface? Look, I'm not saying those things are okay, but pretending like those things never happened is. Like, you're going to have the whole show, but take out that part. Why not take out the whole show? Mark Henry himself even said he thought the DX skit was funny. I get WWE censored a lot of the old content's music and added their own to avoid paying royalties, but now you're taking out content as a whole. And where does it stop? They're going to take out every Crime Time match, every Mexico match, every Samoan gimmick match, you know, where, you know, the Wild Samoans are wrestling, every Tatanka match, you know, all of his promos, Kai and Tai, you know, even after the Venus, that whole wee choppy thing, Kai and Tai was just racist Asian stereotypes. They even had like their voices dubbed and shit. Racist. The list goes on. Half the Attitude Era was just as politically incorrect. Jerry Lawler's misogynistic and racist commentary. Are they gonna keep that in there? Like, Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar got pretty racial at times. Triple H told Booker T people like him don't become world champion. Then you got Goldust and all his antics. Plus Hulk Hogan. In all his personal life, you're going to take out what he did in wrestling because of what he said. You know, where do you draw the line on what can and can't be shown? Peacock literally got, you know, rated R movies, but DX taking over NY or their public address mocking Bill Clinton might be too risque. So the current market, you know, is oversaturated and doesn't have a lot going for it. And the past of pro wrestling is being erased. So yeah, pro wrestling for me is pretty much dead. I'm not subscribed to Peacock. They're not getting my 10, 15, whatever the fuck it is a month just for WWE. Got me fucked up. I'll pay for Paramount Plus instead. How that? You know, shout out to Cornette though for keeping me updated with today's product, because at heart I'll always be a wrestling fan, of course, but WWE and AEW have proven time and time again that wrestling as I knew it is gone, and this new age is mostly sizzle and not a lot of steak. Think about this. I'll leave on this. Bobby Lashley been going crazy, been dominating, and yet they still haven't found a way to match him up with Brock or even Braun. Well, they just released Braun. But it's crazy. I wrote this before they released Braun, so it's crazy. Like, the Land of Giants can't even do a decent Unstoppable Force versus a movable object story anymore, which used to be their bread and butter. I know I've been highly critical, but I criticize because I care, just like Cornette. I know between AEW and WWE, they can be more creative. I get WWE doesn't have to, because at this point, they really don't care about the fans. And that's obvious. AEW had a solid beginning, but they couldn't sustain that momentum for very long. And like I said in my other wrestling video, until they have that NWO or Bullet Club type storyline or whatever that makes people want to tune in, or even something different like an Ultimate X or Six Sides of Steel that innovates the game, they're always going to be seen as the runner-up. Hell, even if they had a feud like Dusty or Flair or Austin and Rock, or something that could shape the company for years to come, instead of throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks. You know, and then they have the nerve to call it chocolate. Like, you know, just they and WWE have been doing that for the past couple years now. AEW at least has JR and Kenny Omega, and they're not even 5 years in, so I kind of give them the next couple years benefit of the doubt to get better. But I don't see WWE improving anytime soon, especially since I could barely watch even the greatest match they put on, because Michael Cole is just unbearable. For 3 hours, I'm not listening to Michael Cole. You got me fucked up. And yeah, you could make the excuse he's bad because Vince is feeding him trash all night, but Cole's been bad for decades, and he's never gotten better. There's no excuse for that. You're trash. You're like, Michael Cole going down as a great commentator that's laughable. Hell nah. To me, Taz was more JBL and Taz were more entertaining as commentators than fucking Michael Cole, and that's crazy, right? And they had less time. Taz is laughable, but I mean, at least he's likable, right? So with today's product being so oversaturated, with very few bright spots, and with no signs of improvement anytime soon, plus we got the passive wrestling in the hands of people who think erasing history and just not talking about it'll go away. So until the two biggest pro wrestling promotions, or, you know, sports entertainment promotions, if you will, can get more creative and make me want to watch today's product, there's no reason for me to get Peacock just to watch old wrestling that's been heavily censored, or today's lackluster 4-hour pay-per-views. So I'll say it again, wrestling to me is pretty much dead besides the updates I get on Cornette's podcast. It sucks to say because it's something I grew up on, and I want it to have another boom. I want to see it be great. But with the direction it's gone and it's going, I can be grateful. At least I got to relive my childhood through the network for a couple years while the network was up. And, you know, I watched almost every WrestleMania, every Monday Night War episode. The wrestling roundtables were dope too. But with Peacock not being really specific with what they're taking out, it's hard for me to spend my money monthly. For, you know, for them to butcher the WWE library. I'm not paying y'all to do that. And I damn sure ain't watching AEW to see an old, you know, Trump supporting Chris Jericho walking around claiming he's still the best in the world. I'm not doing it. So, rest in peace to pro wrestling, as I knew it and as I know it. May you rest well until someone can resurrect you and make you great again. I hope y'all enjoyed my take on the wrestling biz, which I'm sure the internet wrestling community, if they ever see this, they're going to have my head for this shit. But it's my opinion, so fuck it. If you liked it, leave a like. And sub and stay tuned, because I got more hot content dropping soon. Yeah. And it's been your boy, Agent A&T, repping the Spell Block Agency. Be safe out there, y'all. Don't get smoked. And about one more minute, I'm out. Peace, because I think right here is when we take this dub. Yeah, oh, bro, if this is the one that I think it is, just stay tuned, because I'm over here just saluting, bro. I know we got like 2 teams left. I'm over here. I got shot. Or no, I just got a new shield. I'm tripping. Like, okay, what? I'm over here kind of looking too much. I should have taken the ammo. Oh, I did. I'm not stupid. Yeah. Alright. Reload. I'm like, what? Someone shooting at me? Oh, maybe this isn't the one I'm talking about. Oh, I think it actually is. Yep, because right here, they drop him. My homie gets dropped. Yep, I'm like, okay, wow. This dude is lighting me up, and I should have got clapped right here. I'm at 1%. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, alright, let me heal up, get my shield up, get my med kit. Nobody's really, like, pressing me like that. They pressing that Bangalore, though. Clapped her down. Clapped her ass down, and I'm like, okay. Bro, he was perfect. Utilizing everything. Knocked him down, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Where's the last one? And I see him right there, healing up. I hear it. Put it right next to him. Wasn't taking no chances. Had to do it to him. Get the dub. Anyways, y'all. Like I said, be safe out there, y'all. Be safe. Don't get smoked. I'm out. Peace.
You will? Hell yeah. Swear to God. I closed my eyes right at the end.